money, paying off medical loans, and we had to start this business because I got fired and I couldn't get a job. So we start the company and we said, okay, what's the worst thing that can happen to us? Company fails. Her salary was enough that we could pay 3 months of our mortgage. And I figured, I can always get a job in 3 months. That was it. That was the downside. But you know, as time goes on, you're going to get married, maybe. You're going to have some kids, maybe. You're going to buy a house, maybe. You're going to have a mortgage. You're going to have bills. And you know, all those people that you owe money to, they don't care if you're happy. They don't care if you're motivated. They just want to get paid. I used to work for Warren Avis, the guy who started Avis Rent-A-Car. One of the best pieces of advice he ever gave me is, Robert, most people in life work for somebody else. If you can get to the point where you work for yourself, it's the beginning of true wealth. What he meant by that was, don't owe money on a mortgage to somebody, don't owe money on a car, don't do that kind of stuff. The money that you generate goes to yourself. Right? So I'm now going to completely contradict myself. You got to go fast, but you got to train for a marathon. When I was your age, I thought the world was going to end the next day. I thought everything had to happen tomorrow. I felt this incredible pressure because when I was your age, I didn't know what I was going to do. I was in the film business, kind of. I was in the computer business, kind of. I was kind of going to school. But it was just so much pressure. I felt the world was coming in around me. You know what I've learned now at my age? There is a tomorrow. It's going to be okay. You'll figure it out. You just got to think long term. Hunt for your dinner. Has anybody in this room thought about going into sales? So we're thinking of doing another show for CBC. It's called Natural Born Sellers. So the premise of this show is that everything in life is about sales. Here's the challenge with sales. If I said sales to each of you and asked you to name a typical salesperson, I guarantee you the bulk of you would think of a used car salesman, right? The sleazy guy selling sales. Here's what I'm trying to tell you is, if you don't have the ability to sell, you're going to have a very, very difficult time in being successful. Hunting for your own dinner is a quality that will get you through everything. Because if you can't hunt for your own dinner, you're going to have to hire somebody that's going to sell for you. Every now and then it happens, somebody codes a fantastic product, somebody invents Groupon and gets a $25 billion valuation. Oh my God. You know, I'm telling my son, why can't he and his friends invent the next Groupon? I need a bigger plane. Mark's plane is bigger than my plane. So it happens, but you've got to know the sales process. And sales is wonderful, but you've got to know how to do that. At your age, there is no balance. Right? So I do a lot of speeches to people, and they say, Robert, how do you have this life balance? How do you balance your kids, your family, your work, working out, charitable stuff? How do you do all that? I said, oh, it's easy. You know, I fly around in a private plane. I stay in beautiful hotel rooms. It's wonderful. It's easy to have balance when you have a lot of money. I hire people to get my dry cleaning. I mean, it's great. But when you're starting out, there is no balance. You're going to work 20 hours a day. And here's another sad or true reality. Everybody in this room comes from a different background. Some of you come from wealth. Some of you are good looking. Some of you are not. Some of you are big. Some of you are tall. Some of you are whatever. The reality is, the farther down the genetic gene pool you are, guess what? The harder you're going to have to work. Too bad. You're just going to have to do it. Because here's the great equalizer in life. Everybody in the world gets 24 hours every single day. Time doesn't care what your dad time doesn't care where you came from. Time doesn't care. It's all about what have you done in the next 24 hours compared to the person sitting next to you. And if you were like me, that you didn't have anything, you got to get more out of it. And that means you can't sleep. It means you may not be able to party with your friends. All my friends say, oh, didn't you like university? Wasn't university great? All those parties, all that stuff? I'm like, parties? What parties? I worked 2 jobs to pay for my way through. So I got to tell you a funny story. I had lunch with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Great guy, right? So when he was the governor, he instituted reforms that university students had to pay more for university tuition. So I went to speak to a bunch of students, and the student said, Mr. Schwarzenegger, you can't raise the tuition. And he said, why not? Well, if you raise the tuition, I have to go out and get a job. And he said, so? I paid my way through school. Why can't you? And so students said, well, there isn't enough hours in a day for me to get a job and study and do all this stuff. My life is so hard. And so Arnold started breaking it out for them, and he figured out they have a lot of free time during the day. And so he figured out that the student sleeps maybe 8 hours a day, and Arnold says, you don't need 8 hours of sleep. You only need 6 hours. And the student says, no, 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 Arnold, I need more than 6 hours of sleep. Arnold says, sleep faster. So there is no balance. Being committed to business is really, really hard. I got to tell you, there were so many times in all my businesses where I thought it wasn't going to work, it was going to fail, and we wanted to shut it down. And you know, we just kept going. I'm not successful because I'm smarter. I'm not successful because I have better ideas. I think one of the reasons I'm relatively successful is I just have the ability to stay committed to something and keep going. I've been beaten down 1,000 times. I have failed at so many things in my life that, you know, I always say it's impossible for me to fail at something I haven't already, but I'll find a way. It's not about your failure. It's your ability to get up the next day and just do it again. And it's also about riding your winnings. It's just like gambling, right? I've failed more than I've won, but I got to tell you, the few times I've won, it's been pretty friggin' good, right? So, and my last point is work hard, have fun, be nice, play fair, dream big. You truly only get one chance at it. Nobody on their deathbed looks back and says, I wish I slept more. And I think the worst thing you can do is say, I should have. I think those are the worst words you'd ever want to say to yourself on your deathbed is, I should have. Do it now. Life is great. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions? Like to ask about the TV shows or anything like that? Yep.
Yeah, you mentioned about the importance of getting up quickly, even though you failed so many times, for example, right? So how do you avoid dwelling too long on having made a bad decision or failing?
So how do you avoid, everybody can hear that, right? Yeah. So how do you avoid from dwelling on the wrong decision? Boy, I got to tell you, it's hard, right? It's like golf. I don't know if anybody in this room is a golfer. I have a bad shot. I drag it with me for the next 4 or 5 holes. It's really hard. It's just something you have to focus on, right? Anything you focus on, I mean, now we're going back and I'm contradicting myself again. So I had a weakness in that. I couldn't let go of things I've done bad. You know, I do a speech and people do a survey, and I do a speech to 1,000 people. 998 people would say, oh, that was great, that was wonderful. And one person said, his hair looks funny and he spoke too quickly. And I think, why? Why doesn't that one person love me? You know what? You just got to focus on it. But